On today's episode of Factions Compared, we examine the aliens of the Star Wars universe. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another episode of Factions Compared. It's been a while since we've got a new video in this series, so if you enjoy, make sure to leave a thumbs up. Speaking of things I enjoy, I just wanted to take a couple seconds to plug things that I've liked recently. As many of you know, good friend of the channel Space Talk has created his own sci-fi universe, which he will be making into a fully produced video series. He just put a new episode out on background lore on his channel. I'll link to that down in the description. Also, as I was editing this, Wayward Jedi posted a new video. I honestly haven't finished it yet, but Wayward Jedi's content is always phenomenal, among the best Star Wars stuff on YouTube, so I'll link to that below as well. But back to the content, and we're looking at which Star Wars alien is the deadliest. Today's ranking will be based on a variety of factors, from the strength and ability of any individual member within the species to the civilization's strength as a whole. The basic question I'm asking is which one of these alien species you'd want to avoid pissing off the most. For that reason, I've selected 4 very different entries. First we have the Yuuzhan Vong, the extragalactic invaders from the New Jedi Order. Then we have Durge's species, the Gendai, and finally the Wookiees and the Chiss. For anyone wondering more simply which individual alien is the most powerful, like could a single Wookiee beat a single Chiss, I'll also very briefly go over that at the end. But let's get started with a deeper look at each faction, and we'll start off with the Yuuzhan Vong. The Vong were a warrior race from outside the Star Wars galaxy. They aggressively invaded in 25 ABY, causing massive destruction and death during a non-stop 4-year war, which saw the New Republic lose key planets like Coruscant, and only through the unification of basically every faction in the galaxy were the Vong defeated. The Yuuzhan Vong were incredibly dedicated, and almost never showed cowardice or anything less than full devotion. The Vong generally were violent, fanatical, holding pain and reverence, and elevating those with warrior skills and without fear to positions of power. Biologically, they were humanoid, but larger and stronger than most humans. They often augmented their physiques through the replacement of limbs and the melding of organic armor. A skilled Vong warrior was a good match for even a powerful Jedi, especially given their separation from the Force. Even rank-and-file Yuuzhan Vong have showed themselves capable of killing deadly opponents, from Noghri to Jedi. Vong warriors made use of organic armor and weapons, custom-grown and incredibly deadly. The Vong Amphistaff, one of their most common tools, was able to inject poison, parry a lightsaber, and cut or bite an opponent. All in all, the deadliness of the Yuuzhan Vong, and I'm referring to both their civilization and the species as a whole, should not be underestimated. Next up, and very different from the Yuuzhan Vong, is the Gendai. Rather than drawing their strength from a fanatical, single-minded faction, the Gendai's greatest asset was the incredible abilities of individual warriors. The Gendai, the most famous of whom was Durge, were blessed with incredible longevity. They were almost unkillable and could recover from almost any injury, from decapitation and dismemberment to being literally blown apart. Unfortunately, I can't show the classic 2003 Clone Wars series because it's almost immediately copyright striked, but I recommend checking it out, especially the episodes with Obi-Wan and Durge, and the bounty hunter was only killed by literally being thrown into a star. However, the Gendai were blessed with more than just durability. They were also incredibly capable warriors. Durge shows strength and speed, matching that of a Jedi or even General Grievous, and is easily capable of taking down entire squads of clone troopers. The Gendai also had very developed sensory systems and were capable of detecting enemies from great distance. In battle, they were able to use these senses to respond to attacks with great speed. The species as a whole, however, were not really a great threat. By the time of the Clone Wars, the Gendai were totally decentralized, with no unifying government or force. The species was also exceptionally rare due to very low birth rates, and again the fact that Gendai could likely go hundreds of years without seeing another Gendai. Gendai were also not generally violent, although they did sometimes go crazy and descend into violence with age, as was the case with Durge. The species did not commonly wear combat armor or use weapons, though of course individuals, again including Durge, involved in violent occupations would. Next up we have the Wookiees. Wookiees I find very interesting. Individually they are incredibly powerful, tall, heavy, strong, and among the galaxy's most feared warriors. When hit with fits of rage, there's not much that one can do to stop a Wookiee in its tracks. Certainly, most humanoid species will be unable to resist Wookiee strength. Wookiees are also gifted with powerful claws and teeth, though claws especially were not typically used in combat. Besides for being strong, fast, and capable, Wookiees are also intelligent, despite what some in the galaxy might tell you, and are fiercely honorable and loyal. Wookiees, however, are not warlike, and most are content with living a peaceful life amongst their kin on the planet Kashyyyk. That means Wookiee fits of rage were generally kept to individuals and were not manifested across the civilization, and Wookiees rarely left their planet to fight wars, and were often subjugated by galactic powers. Wookiee technology was different, commonly using wood and other organic material, but was still very impressive. They made use of specially designed blades and weapons, and on occasion did even wear armor. Imagine a Wookiee in a full suit of armor charging at you. Just terrifying. Finally, we have the Chiss, a near-human, perhaps human offshoot species from the unknown regions. As a species, the Chiss created the Chest Ascendancy, the largest stable government and civilization within the unknown regions. Chiss were generally physically fit, but on a level comparable to humans, without the same degree of strength as the other aliens on today's list. That being said, the civilization as a whole valued military service and dedication, so Chiss were often very impressive warriors. Grand Admiral Thrawn, the most famous of the Chiss, represents an exaggerated version of the average Chiss soldier. The species was generally very intelligent, disciplined, and strategic, though as we see in the Outbound flight, unlike Thrawn, some were also power-hungry and even a little bit manipulative. Nonetheless, the Chiss lived and adhered very closely to their own ideals of honor, and were almost never aggressive. Thrawn grappled with this philosophy as he sought to use preemptive strikes against the Vegari. However, if attacked, the Chiss would not hesitate to respond with full fury, and largely due to the totally regimented nature of their lives, were a devastatingly efficient enemy who would hunt any perpetrators of harms against them to their death. By the time of the Vong invasion, the Chiss had nearly 30 colonies. Their tech was a mix of independently created technology and hybrid creations, with imperial hybridization relatively common. Some aspects of their technology was better, many were worse, and some were also just different, but regardless of that, it's incredibly impressive that the Chiss managed to create a stable civilization within the unknown regions, arguably the most dangerous place in the entire galaxy, where countless threats were basically always ready to strike. Chiss territory was incredibly well defended, but again, they were not aggressive unless provoked. With that description out of the way, let's rank these 4 species from best to worst, and if you want, go ahead and take a second to vote in the upper right hand corner and let me know what you think. Based purely on the strength and ability of individuals, the ranking I believe would be Gendai, Wookiee, Vong, then Chiss, with the Vong taking the number 2 spot if given access to their armor and weapons. However, individual strength is only one of many factors we have to consider here, and that is why I believe the most dangerous species on this list is the Yuuzhan Vong, because they mix that incredible individual deadliness with a species that is as a whole very large, aggressive, and absolutely built for war. The Yuuzhan Vong alone managed to oppose every other species, almost conquering the entire Star Wars galaxy. Next up, we have the Gendai, but for completely different reasons. Going back to my initial question of which one of these aliens you'd want to avoid pissing off the most, the Gendai are not unified. You are the enemy of an individual only, as the species does not work together, preferring to be individual and nomadic. However, the one Gendai you have to deal with will perhaps be the most devastating individual enemy one could face. And I believe that the Gendai are leagues ahead of even the Yuuzhan Vong in terms of durability, strength, and speed. That brings us to number 3, the Chest Ascendancy. Now, the Chiss are very competent, and I would argue are the most strategic and intelligent of the aliens on this list, but do not have the same individual physical gifts of the Gendai, the Yuuzhan Vong, or the Wookiees. They are also isolationist, which in my mind does somewhat diminish their dangerousness, but they still come ahead of number 4, the Wookiees. The Wookiees are not isolationist, but they're also not warlike like the Chiss. They're individually brutal warriors, but as a species and as a whole, relatively peaceful. Individually, Wookiees would struggle to stand up against a fully armored Yuuzhan Vong and certainly a fully armored Gendai, and as a species, they lack the same degree of militarization as the Chiss. For that reason, I put them in the number 4 spot. That, however, is just my opinion. What do you think of this list? Did I get it right, or perhaps totally wrong? Also, I'm curious, where would you put the Nogri, servants of the Empire, then the Organa family on this list? And what about humans? Let me know all of that and more down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, links to the things I talked about earlier will be down in the description and also in a pinned comment. If you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe and leave a like. Until next time, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.